Hello and welcome to the Healthy Relationships presentation. My name is Stephanie Green and I am one of the current doctoral interns at the University Counseling Center at Grand Valley State University. This presentation will focus on what makes a relationship healthy or unhealthy, how to build healthier relationships with others, managing conflict, warning signs of abusive relationships, and how to make connections on campus here at GVSU. So what is a relationship? I want you to think about your most important relationships right now. When we talk about relationships, we're not just looking at romantic relationships, but we're also looking at friendships, relationships with family members, all kinds of relationships. Important questions are, what is a friend? And what makes someone a good friend or a bad friend? Something we often hear when we think about someone who makes a good friend are someone who will support you no matter what. Someone you can trust and who won't judge you. Someone you enjoy being around, who makes you happy, makes you laugh, and will be there for you no matter what, in good times and bad times. And someone who would never put you down or deliberately hurt your feelings, but will show you kindness and respect. Relationships are an important part of our lives because we all need connection. Human beings thrive on connection. Socialization is a super important element of our health. And relationships provide us with mutual support and care, as well as shared experiences, which are very important. So what makes a relationship healthy? There are 7 components to a healthy relationship. The first is mutual respect. Second is trust. Third is honesty. Fourth is support. Fifth is equity. Sixth is separateness. And finally, we have effective communication. We will go through each of these in more depth as we move forward. The first component of a healthy relationship is mutual respect. Thinking about someone that you have a relationship with, whether this is a partner, a friend, family member, respond to each of these following questions with yes or no. If the answer is yes, think about the reasons that you agree with the statement. And if it's no, think about why is it like that? Does this other person understand and value who you are? Do you understand and value them? Do you see one another as equals? Are one or both of you trying to change the other? Are you yourself around this person? And do you respect one another's values and goals? Your partner or your friend's wants, needs, and feelings have value, as do yours. You need to let them know that you're making an effort to keep their ideas in mind. Mutual respect is an essential component in maintaining healthy relationships. The second component of a healthy relationship is trust. Without trust, the other elements don't have much meaning. Trusting someone is when you have someone who is dependable, consistent, reliable, and you feel safe with them both emotionally and physically. What's really important about trust is that it must be a mutual commitment to be successful. Determining whether to trust someone takes some time. It's a combination of your own instincts of a person and their actions over time. And this does take a level of vulnerability. It can be hard to trust again after your trust has been broken. Remind yourself that your new partner, your new friend, is not your old partner. They're not your old friend. When we start a new relationship, we are making a choice to trust this person. And if you're having a hard time doing that, if you're unable to do that just yet, that might be a sign that you're not ready for this new relationship. Our trust being broken can impact our ability to trust ourselves and our own instincts as well, which is another reason why sometimes it takes a little bit of patience to feel ready to trust again. The third component of a healthy relationship is honesty. Honesty is, of course, a big precursor of trust, as trust and honesty go hand in hand. When we are dishonest or we lie, this creates disconnection, even if our partner or friend never finds out about that lie. Now, none of us are perfect, we all make mistakes, but we must make the commitment to yourself and to your partner or friend to admit to and apologize for your mistakes. Honesty means not only telling the truth, but telling it in a way that your partner will hear it and benefit from it. Really think about the intention of this honesty. If you're using some honest remark to attack someone in an argument, that's not the same. Honesty should really be used in a way to build trust and connection. And this also means being open to feedback and honesty yourself from your partners, from your friends, from anyone you have a relationship with. And the fourth is support. This looks like having each other's backs, celebrating each other's accomplishments, supporting through difficult times such as disappointments and failures. And there are 4 types of support. The first being physical comfort or emotional support, which looks like listening, empathizing, holding hands, hugging. There's emotional support, which can look like encouragement, expressing confidence in one another. There's informational support, which is advice giving, gathering information, asking questions. And then there's tangible support, which can look like taking on responsibilities so that that person can deal with whatever problem they're facing. Research shows that we tend to heavily rely on informational support. Similarly to our love languages, which we will talk about momentarily, we all have different preferences in which kind of support that we want and which that we need, which may also depend on the situation. So it's important to know yourself and be able to ask for what you want and what you need in terms of support, as well as being able to ask your partner or your friend what they need, what they want, how they feel best supported by you. So what are love languages? Well, we all give and receive love in different ways and have our own preferences. The 5 love languages are words of affirmation, physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, and acts of service. It is helpful to know this about yourself so that you can ask for what you need in a relationship, and helpful to know this about the people in your life so that you can show them love in the best way that they receive it, but also so that you can recognize the acts of love that they show you for what they truly are. Now I want you all to take a moment to pause this video and go to 5lovelanguages.com/quizzes and take the quiz for yourself. This is something that you can do on your own. You can take it with a partner, with a friend, with your mom, a family member, whoever. I want you to take this quiz and then come back and answer a couple of questions. Once you have your results, what can you do with this information? How can you use this information about yourself? Maybe you can ask your partner, ask your friend for what you need and what you want in that relationship. Also, how can you use this information about others? Maybe you can make an effort to provide them with their needs, even if it's not your own love language. This can be a great tool to use with a friend, with a partner, to open up communication and dialogue about your needs and about their needs. The 5th element of a healthy relationship is equity or fairness. Both people in the relationship should feel that they are putting in an equal amount of effort into the relationship and have an equal say. There should not be one person who feels either superior or inferior to the other. You should both be taking turns making choices, and you should not have to fight to get your own way. This is really about giving and taking and making sure we're both getting what we need and both giving what the other person needs. Now, nobody is perfect. It is unreasonable to expect 100% equity and a perfect 50-50 balance. But over time, in the long term of your relationship, things should seem balanced over time. The next component of healthy relationships is separateness. Each person in the relationship is their own person. They have their own unique values and ideals and hobbies and preferences. You should never feel pressured to give any of those things up that are important to you in a relationship. You should have your own free time, your own friends, hobbies, interests, beliefs, and passions. You shouldn't have to share your passwords or check in on each other digitally. And you should be responsible for filling yourself up rather than relying on somebody else for that. I want you to take a moment to identify some examples you have of things that are your own or separate from a relationship. These are good things. We want to have some things that are our own that we can do that really kind of fill us up, that make us feel good. And sure, we can definitely share this with our partners, with our friends from time to time, but we should still have things that are our own. A key element of separateness is being able to set boundaries. The first step in doing this is taking the time to identify your own wants, your needs, and your limits. Some boundaries that are important to consider are whether or not you're ready to say things like, I love you, what you're comfortable with physically, how much time apart you need, and digital boundaries. There's this invisible line between you and another person when you're in a relationship, but both individuals can impact that boundary line. Optimally, it is up to you to decide and maintain where you want your boundary with another person to be, and identify those expectations. A big part of that is being able to honestly communicate your needs, your expectations, and your boundaries with this other person. For example, in doing someone a favor, a healthy boundary would indicate that you would be able to say no if you're not able to do that favor, or if it would negatively impact you in some way. Unhealthy boundaries would indicate that you would feel you can never say no, even in situations where doing the favor would significantly impact you in a negative way. Some common misconceptions about boundaries that we often hear are this feeling of being selfish if we set a boundary. But boundaries really often increase our ability to care about others because we are being true to ourselves and true to our own needs. Another myth is that if we set boundaries, we will hurt another person. But this isn't a weapon that we're using. It's more of a defensive tool to really protect us so that we can be the best version of ourselves in that relationship. Another one is boundaries are permanent, and I'm going to burn bridges if I put these boundaries in place. And this is not true. You own these boundaries, they do not own you. You can renegotiate and change those boundaries whenever you feel comfortable doing so. Boundaries are not intended to make us feel guilty, but instead are to reinforce our choices and our roles. A good tip for setting boundaries is that it can be helpful to set stricter boundaries in the beginning so that people know what to expect. And then it's much easier to loosen those boundaries later on than to make them stricter later. The final component of healthy relationships is effective communication. I want you all to take a moment to complete this statement. When my partner or friend doesn't talk to me, I am scared that. Common responses that we hear or feelings that we see are feelings of abandonment or rejection, worrying that this person doesn't care about them, doesn't love them, or maybe judging them in some way, right? And now if we're feeling this way when our partner or our friend isn't communicating to us, thinking about how when we aren't communicating effectively to our partners or our friends, how that might affect them. We really want to approach the relationship as a learning experience, come together and be honest, really listen and ask questions, and be open with your feelings. We want to be sensitively aware of one another. And you want to work to improve, expand, and grow together. Some ways to communicate better are doing it in person, finding the right time, the right place, being honest, and being present. Part of this is checking in your body language, making sure that you're really showing that person that you are present with them with whatever it is that they're sharing. Put your phone away, really kind of get rid of any distractions, and really be present with your partner, with your friend. There are 4 communication styles. The first is passive. This is someone who avoids conflict, who is often a people pleaser, and sends the message to others that you have rights and I do not. This is someone who can never accept a compliment, who struggles to say no to others, and frequently apologizes. The second is aggressive. This is someone who aims to control and manipulate using power, position, and specific language to get what they want. This is sending the message to other people that I have rights and you do not. Someone who uses the aggressive style might persuade others that their ideas are better. They might speak for other people, telling people what they should or shouldn't do, or they might put others down. The third style is passive aggressive. This is someone who uses indirect communication, who uses guilt to manipulate others, and sends the message that you think you have rights, but you do not. They often will utilize indirect requests, the silent treatment or guilt tripping, or they often will say one thing but really mean the other. And the final style is assertive, and this is really what we're striving for. This is someone who is able to effectively express their needs, thoughts, and feelings without violating the rights of others, using direct, honest, and confident communication, which really sends the message that we both have rights. This is someone who's able to communicate their opinions openly, using I statements, effectively disagree with one another, and they can talk without excusing, justifying, or apologizing for themselves. So take a moment to consider these 4 styles. What would you say is your communication style? What is likely your partner's or your friend's communication style? How does your communication style impact the relationship you have with this person? And what would happen in your relationship if you used an assertive communication rather than the style that maybe you're currently using now? Conflict in relationships is normal. We all experience conflict one way or another in the relationships that we have. We just have to handle it in a healthy way. We need to be able to resolve them rather than perpetuate them. It's important to work together against the problem rather than working against each other, and validate each other's experiences and emotions. It can be difficult to communicate properly and in a healthy way when we're feeling really angry. So some steps that we can take start with stop. Stop, take a step away, take a breather. Tell your partner or your friend that you need a break and go do something soothing, something that helps you relax, something that helps you dissipate some of that anger that's built up. The second step is to think. Once that anger has reduced a bit, think about why you became so angry. Find the root of the problem and think about how you can best communicate this to your partner. Next is to talk. Go ahead and talk to your partner about what's going on, about why you became angry, what's coming up for you, and do it in a way that they can hear you, using I statements and talking about your feelings. Do not blame them, do not yell, and do not use name calling or insults. And finally, listen. Remember that you both deserve to express how you feel and be heard. So just as much as we expect that from our partners, we need to be able to give your partner that chance to also share and to be open to listening to them as well. When we think about conflict, it can be helpful to consider Gottman's 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. These are 4 communication issues that can lead to further conflict and ending of a relationship. The first is criticism. This is when you state a problem as a flaw within the character of another person, or verbally attack a personality or character trait of that person. An example of this is when someone within the relationship cancels plans. Criticism would be to say, "You're so inconsiderate and selfish with your time." The antidote here is really talking about how you feel, saying something along the lines of, "I feel sad and disappointed that we were not able to spend time together." A comment like this is sharing how you feel without attacking or criticizing the other person. The second is contempt. This is when we attack someone's sense of self with an intent to insult or abuse, when we express superiority through sarcasm, direct insult, name-calling, or body language such as eye-rolling or scoffing. An example of this is if someone makes a mistake and you respond with, "Wow, great job. You are so stupid." So the antidote to this is to really express appreciation, admiration, and respect. Remind yourself of their positive qualities and find gratitude for positive actions. An example of the antidote would be to say something along the lines of, I understand that you've been busy lately. Please just try to remember for next time. The next is defensiveness. This is really playing the victim when we victimize ourselves to ward off a perceived attack and reverse the blame and put it onto another person. An example would be your partner pointing out that we're going to be late for something, and you respond with, it's not my fault. You're the one who is always late, always waits to the last minute to get ready. The antidote is to really own up and acknowledge, saying something like, I know I'm running a bit late. I didn't expect it to take this long, but thank you for being so patient. And finally, we have stonewalling. This is when we emotionally disengage from a situation in order to avoid conflict. We stop giving social cues that we're listening. This really conveys disapproval, distance, and separation to your partner. An example would be to completely withdraw from the conversation or shutting down using evasive measures such as turning away, tuning out, acting busy, distracting, or walking away completely. The antidote here is to take a break and practice psychological self-soothing, as discussed in the previous slide. In order to handle conflict in an appropriate way, we need to be able to fight fair. This means being able to remind ourselves that in a relationship, it's not about winning and it's not about losing. It's about compromise. Compromise is the true goal in any conflict that we're having in a relationship. Ask yourself, what is more important? Is it more important for me to be right or more important for me to be in a good relationship? Now, none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. But what counts is our ability to own up to those mistakes, acknowledge them, and apologize. Healthy relationships allow for change and growth and require us to be flexible with ourselves, but also with one another. It's important to not rehash the past. When addressing a conflict, make sure to fully resolve it so that you can move forward together. Conflict in relationships is very normal. Every relationship has some level of conflict. But when does this conflict go beyond a healthy amount of conflict and become an unhealthy relationship? Some warning signs that we see of unhealthy relationships include this person becoming angry if you don't drop everything and do everything that they want right away. Someone criticizing you for the way that you look, or the way that you dress, or insulting you, telling you that you're wrong or you're stupid, using mean words, telling you that you will never find anybody else who will like you or love you, who isolates you from your friends, your family, from the activities and hobbies that you enjoy. If they ever harm you physically or appear as if they may harm you physically. Someone who forces or coerces you into doing anything sexually that you're not wanting to do or not ready for. And someone who makes you feel like you have to walk on eggshells around them, or consistently makes you feel crazy or as if you're not right. Unhealthy relationships can quickly turn to abusive relationships. Dating violence and intimate partner violence is very common on college campuses. I want to make it very clear that it is never okay for someone to force you or to coerce you into doing anything. And it is never okay for someone to harm you physically, emotionally, or verbally. Some signs of an abusive relationship include domination, verbal insults, social isolation, having to walk on eggshells around this person, possessiveness, extreme jealousy or insecurity, feeling powerless, and experiencing physical violence. As you can see, there is considerable overlap between unhealthy and abusive relationships, as unhealthy relationships can often turn or develop into abusive relationships. If you are currently in an abusive relationship, you can connect with someone at loveisrespect.org through calling their number, texting their text line, or going to loveisrespect.org to chat with someone directly online and find further resources on their website. You can also come to the counseling center to connect with a counselor for additional support and resources. If you have a friend who is in an abusive relationship, the most important thing that you can do is to be there for them. Reach out, be supportive, and express your concern for this person. You can help them recognize that the abuse isn't normal and that it's not their fault. You can also connect them to additional resources that may be helpful. What's really important to not do is to never address the abuser directly, as this can sometimes worsen the conflict, worsen the abuse. Now I want you to take a moment to consider how healthy your relationships are. It's easy for us to lose perspective or see our relationship through rose-colored glasses, which leads to us easily missing red flags and unhealthy patterns. We also tend to think about how healthy our partners and our friends are in our relationships, but it is just as important to evaluate our own healthy and unhealthy patterns in our relationships. A way we can do that is by taking this quiz at the link that's provided on the screen. I want you all to again pause this video and go to this link here at www.loveisrespect.org /# or hashtag, depending on your generation, quiz home. Go to this link and take both quizzes of is my relationship healthy and am I a good partner? And once you finish those quizzes, I want you to come back and take a moment to consider some of your past relationships, your past friendships. What elements were healthy or unhealthy about those relationships? How will those experiences impact your current or your future relationships? So now let's talk about how we can be making connections and building those friendships on campus here at Grand Valley State University. The most important step into making those first connections is just being open. Starting, building, and maintaining friendships requires work. We gotta put a little bit of effort in order to build those relationships and make those friends. If we're all just kind of waiting for friends to come to us, it's gonna be very difficult to build these relationships that we want. You need to make yourself available for these friendships, and it's very normal to feel nervous or self-conscious. We all feel that way when we first meet people in a new situation. The awkwardness will fade as you get to know this person. It gets a lot easier with practice. And also, there are over 24,000 potential friends at Grand Valley State University. You just need to get yourself out there. The best way to get yourself out there is just to be where other students are. Think about some of the areas on campus that students typically are. This might be Kirchhoff, the dining halls, the rec center. This might be waiting in the bus, volunteering, student organizations, things like that. Are there any other areas or places on campus that you could think that might be a good place to meet someone new? Another great way to connect with others is to join a student organization. We have over 400 student organizations on Grand Valley campus. You can learn more about them at the website provided here or by going to Campus Nightlife, which we have twice a year, that showcases all of the student organizations that we have here and gives you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about them, to engage with some of the members, and to sign up for more information. And finally, I want to give you some information about the University Counseling Center. We have 2 locations, one on the Allendale campus and Pew campus. And here's some information about those locations and hours, as well as the phone number where you can set up services. You do get free and confidential services as a student at Grand Valley. This includes unlimited group therapy. Some of the groups that we offer per semester include general therapy group, healthy relationships, how to worry well, stress management, managing your depression, social anxiety, self-compassion, everyday emotions, LGBTQ group, Black Voices, adult children of alcoholics, and grief group. Other services that we offer are short-term individual therapy, career assessment and counseling, outreach programming, consultation, and crisis services. I want to thank you all for listening and sticking around through the Healthy Relationships presentation. I hope that some of this information was helpful and useful to you, and that we can all work towards making our relationships a bit healthier.